We're traveling back to a time when survival depended not on money, but on creativity, resilience, and the ability to turn scraps into supper. During the Great Depression and World War II, food was scarce, wages were low, and every bite mattered. Yet somehow, our grandparents fed their families with pride, transforming basic staples into warm, filling meals that became symbols of hope. From Hoover stew to vinegar pie, these recipes remind us that true comfort food doesn't come from luxury. It comes from resourcefulness. If you love learning how simple food tells powerful stories, make sure to subscribe to The Lost Taste, hit that bell icon, and join us as we uncover 18 cheap survival meals that fed our American grandparents. 1. Cream-chipped beef on toast. SOS. Few dishes represent the American spirit of make-do like this one. Born in military mess halls and later adopted by home cooks, cream-chipped beef on toast was known to soldiers as SOS, short for shit on a shingle. It sounds crude, but for soldiers, it was comfort in the trenches. And for families back home, it was nourishment on a dime. The dish used thin slices of dried beef rehydrated in a simple white gravy made of butter, flour, and milk. Poured generously over toast, it became a rich, salty, filling meal that stuck to your ribs. When soldiers returned home from war, they brought the recipe with them, and it became a breakfast staple in many households. Even today, older generations speak of it with nostalgia. The smell of creamy gravy on the stove bringing back memories of post-war kitchens filled with laughter and gratitude. And hey, if this kind of old-school comfort food makes you nostalgic, don't forget to subscribe to The Lost Taste for more timeless recipes like this. 2. Hoover stew. Named ironically after President Herbert Hoover, Hoover stew became one of the defining dishes of the Great Depression. It was never made the same way twice, because no family had the same ingredients. The basic idea was simple. Cook macaroni in a big pot, toss in sliced hot dogs, canned tomatoes, and whatever vegetables you could find, maybe corn, peas, or beans. Let it all simmer until the flavors came together. It was cheap, it was filling, and it stretched small portions into something that could feed a crowd. Soup kitchens and church basements across the country served Hoover stew by the ladle. It wasn't fancy, but for millions, it meant survival. And while we might laugh at the name today, it carries a powerful message. When communities come together, even the poorest ingredients can become a shared feast. 3. Potato soup. If there was one food that defined hard times, it was the humble potato. Cheap, filling, and versatile, potatoes could be turned into anything, from fried patties to hearty soups. Potato soup was one of the simplest meals of all. Boil diced potatoes in water or milk, season with salt and pepper, and mash them slightly to create a creamy texture. If you were lucky, you might add an onion or a spoonful of bacon grease for flavor. But even without extras, it was warm, nourishing, and reliable. In many households, it was the difference between going hungry and making it through the night. And that's the beauty of these old recipes. They prove that comfort doesn't require much, just a little love and imagination. 4. Fried Spam. When World War II rationing made fresh meat hard to come by, Spam became the hero of the American kitchen. This canned meat could last for years without spoiling, and was affordable enough to keep families fed. Housewives sliced it thin and fried it until crispy on the edges, serving it with eggs or between slices of bread. Soldiers ate it on the battlefield, and kids grew up with it on their breakfast plates. Spam's salty, savory flavor became a symbol of endurance. For many veterans, it was the taste of victory and survival wrapped into one. And if you've ever fried a slice of Spam, you know, that golden crisp, that smell in the pan, it's pure nostalgia. 5. Cornmeal mush. Before cereal and instant oats, there was cornmeal mush, the classic Depression-era porridge. Made from just cornmeal, water, and a pinch of salt, it was cooked until thick and creamy. For breakfast, it was served hot with a drizzle of syrup or milk. For dinner, leftovers were poured into a pan, left to cool, then sliced and fried in bacon grease until crispy on the outside. Some added tomato gravy, others used maple syrup. It didn't matter. What mattered was that it filled stomachs and stretched the family budget. Cornmeal was cheap, abundant, and versatile, making this dish a cornerstone of survival cooking. 6. Dandelion salad. Imagine walking outside and picking your dinner right out of the yard. That's exactly what families did. Dandelion salad was one of the earliest forms of foraging-based meals. Young, tender dandelion greens were picked before they grew too bitter, washed, and topped with a warm dressing made from bacon drippings, vinegar, and sugar. The hot fat wilted the greens slightly, giving them a tangy, savory flavor. It was a wild delicacy born out of desperation, but it tasted of freedom, a reminder that nature still provided, even when the pantry didn't. 7. Liver and onions. Organ meats like liver were once the unsung heroes of the dinner table. Cheap, available, and packed with nutrients, liver and onions became a weekly staple for many American families. The dish was simple but rich. Beef or chicken liver, dredged in flour, fried in a cast-iron skillet, and topped with caramelized onions. It wasn't everyone's favorite. The flavor was strong, but it was one of the most nutritious meals you could find for pennies. Parents told their kids, "Eat it, it'll put iron in your blood," and they weren't wrong. It's one of those dishes that defined a generation, a mix of necessity and nutrition. 8. Mock apple pie. Now this one is pure genius. When apples were too expensive or out of season, inventive cooks found a way to recreate them using Ritz crackers. Yes, crackers! Crushed Ritz were simmered with sugar, lemon juice, cinnamon, and cream of tartar, then baked in a flaky pie crust. The result? A pie that looked, smelled, and even tasted like apple. It fooled everyone at the table and quickly became a Depression-era legend. To this day, mock apple pie remains a testament to how far creativity can go when food is scarce. 9. Tuna noodle casserole. Post-war America saw the rise of canned convenience, and tuna noodle casserole was the queen of the pantry. Canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, egg noodles, and peas. Cheap, easy, and all shelf-stable. Everything was mixed together, topped with crushed potato chips or breadcrumbs, and baked until bubbly. It was creamy, comforting, and could feed a family of 6 with 1 can of tuna. Housewives loved it, kids devoured it, and it became a symbol of post-war frugality mixed with home-cooked comfort. If this kind of food history fascinates you, go ahead and subscribe to The Lost Taste. We share stories behind the dishes that define generations. 10. Fried bologna sandwich. You can't talk about cheap American meals without mentioning the fried bologna sandwich. Bologna was affordable, long-lasting, and satisfying. A thick slice fried in a skillet until the edges curled up became a warm, smoky filling. Slap it between 2 pieces of white bread with mustard or mayo, and you had a working man's lunch that could rival any diner burger. The crackle of the pan and the smell of bologna frying was the aroma of a happy home in the 1950s. Simple, salty, perfect. 11. American goulash. The all-American version of goulash was a family favorite for decades. It was a one-pot wonder. Browned ground beef, onions, canned tomatoes, and elbow macaroni simmered together into a thick, hearty stew. It was filling, flavorful, and made with ingredients every kitchen had on hand. Some families spiced it up with paprika or Worcestershire sauce. Others stretched it with extra pasta to make it last longer. It was the ultimate comfort food. Affordable, easy, and satisfying after a long day's work. 12. Tomato gravy over biscuits. Born in the South, tomato gravy was an ingenious way to make breakfast hearty without meat. Made from bacon grease, flour, and canned tomatoes, it created a tangy, savory sauce poured over warm, fluffy biscuits. It was the kind of meal that filled your belly and made you smile. Even when money was tight, the smell of biscuits baking in a wood stove was pure heaven on the homestead. To many Southerners, tomato gravy wasn't just food. It was family tradition. 13. Beans and weenies. Sometimes the best meals are the simplest. Beans and weenies was exactly what it sounded like. A can of pork and beans heated with sliced hot dogs. Quick, cheap, and packed with protein, it was the perfect solution for busy parents and hungry kids. It became a childhood favorite that many adults still secretly love. Even today, that combination of sweet beans and smoky hot dogs brings back memories of tin plates, laughter, and a simpler time. 14. Egg drop soup, Depression style. The Great Depression version of egg drop soup was far simpler than the Chinese restaurant dish we know today. Often, families had little more than water, salt, and 1 precious egg. They'd bring the water to a simmer, slowly drizzle in the beaten egg while stirring, and watch as it transformed into delicate ribbons. Maybe they added a sprinkle of pepper or a leftover vegetable, but usually that was it. A single egg could feed a family if used wisely. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm, and sometimes that's all you needed. 15. Corned beef hash. Few dishes felt more like a treat than corned beef hash. A can of corned beef, some leftover potatoes, and a chopped onion, fried together until crispy and golden. It was a hearty, savory dish that tasted far richer than its humble ingredients. Often served with a fried egg on top, it became a diner favorite that stuck around long after the Depression ended. The best part? That irresistible crust that forms when the hash hits the hot skillet. Pure flavor, pure memory. 16. Vinegar pie, lemon pie without lemons? Absolutely. Vinegar pie was another desperation dessert that turned pantry staples into something sweet and luxurious. A mixture of sugar, butter, flour, and eggs was flavored with a few spoonfuls of vinegar, giving it a tangy, custard-like finish. The first bite always surprised people. It was sweet, tart, and perfectly balanced. It's proof that even in hard times, Americans never gave up on dessert. 17. Bread and milk or milk toast. The ultimate comfort food of simplicity. When food was running low, families turned to bread and milk. Stale bread was torn into pieces and covered with warm milk. A bit of butter, sugar, or cinnamon made it taste like a hug in a bowl. It was soft, gentle, and nourishing, especially for children, the sick, or the elderly. For many, this dish was more than food. It was a reminder of safety and care in a world that often felt uncertain. 18. Savory Jell-O salads, the strangest yet most iconic dish of mid-century America. Savory gelatin salads were made from flavored Jell-O mixed with leftover meats, vegetables, or even seafood. Lime and lemon flavors were favorites, as they paired surprisingly well with ham or tuna. These colorful molds became a fixture at church potlucks and holiday tables. While today they might seem bizarre, back then they were symbols of optimism. Bright, jiggly reminders that even tough times could look a little fancy. Conclusion. These 18 survival meals are more than recipes. They're history served on a plate. They tell the story of a generation that refused to give up, even when faced with hunger and hardship. From foraging dandelion greens to baking pies out of vinegar and crackers, our grandparents proved that the secret ingredient to any meal is hope. They showed that with creativity and courage, even the simplest foods can become feasts. If this journey through the kitchens of the past inspired you, make sure to subscribe to The Lost Taste, hit like, and share your thoughts below. Which of these meals have you tried? Or which one would you dare to? Remember, every recipe tells a story, and every story deserves to be remembered. This has been The Lost Taste, bringing back the flavors that time forgot, one bite of history at a time.